to talk about lead gen today, and the pillars and all that stuff. But this is a prime example of how this stuff, can go wrong with technology. Have you ladies been struggling with getting through to, buyers and sellers, or
Yes,
you have good
big time.
conversion? Tried to explain because I get messages from people all the time, and they're like, oh, I can't get somebody through, and connect them with it for different reasons. And one of the cases that I remember, and it still rings out in my head because it was a horrible case. Well, a long time ago, we had a lead that came in through our system, right? And the lead came in through the system online, a normal internet lead. The agent that was assigned to it responded with a text message. Hey, I saw that you inquired, whatever it was. And the response to that text message was the lead called the agent, right? It called through the system and got routed to the agent. And I heard the voicemail. Well, I didn't hear it at the time, but the voicemail said basically, hey, thank you for your message. Unfortunately, I'm old and I don't understand this texting thing. Can you please call me back? Right. And her response to the message was a text message saying, hey, I saw that you called. How can I help you? Right. So I find a lot of the reasons why we can't get through to people is we're not meeting them where they're comfortable. All right.
Mhm.
When I call people, and unfortunately it went worse than that, because where I say it went really bad is that I didn't notice that because I don't follow every lead that the agents get. But 4 months later, when she was let go, and I started going through this, I saw this in the history, and I called the guy, and he says, thank you so much for calling me. He says, I thought nobody wanted to work with us. And I said, that's absolutely not the case. And I apologize for the bad experience, but you got me now. Let's get you where you need to be. So we had, I think at that time, we were at like a $450,000 pre-approval. He was a doctor. We were putting 50% cash down. And he was relocating from, I think if I remember correctly, he was in Georgia, relocating to Florida, right? So we went over the properties he wanted to see. We discussed him coming to town. It was like he had scheduled the trip for a couple weeks out. And I set everything up, and I called him on that Friday. We were going to meet Monday morning. I called him on that Friday before to double check and confirm the appointment. And when I called him, right, I was met with when he answered the phone, his response, I could hear the tears in his voice, right? And he was all upset. He's like, Chris, look, he says, my wife just got a really bad diagnosis and she has to go through this treatment. Unfortunately, we can't move during the treatment. All right. So this whole evolution, happened a little over 4 months. And my point behind bringing this up is when we, not only did we lose the sale, but we left somebody in an area where they didn't want to be, right? Our job is so much bigger than just, are we going to get a commission check, right? We left somebody there in a state that they didn't want to be. They could have been already done with their move into the house. Yes, we would have gotten a commission, but more importantly, we would have gotten that family to a place where, as she dealt with this disease, she could have wrote it out in the area that he and her wanted to be in. All right. So it is super, super, super imperative that we make sure that we're meeting them where they are comfortable. Right. So my point behind this, obviously, these are real situations. When I bring these things up, these are real stories. These actually happened, right? So how do we know that, right? This particular one, I saw the conversations. He was screaming out, call me, call me, call me, and the agent didn't do it. But when we get a lead coming in, we don't know how they communicate until we get in touch with them. All right. So when I get somebody, no matter where it comes from, now granted, if it's a Facebook message, I may not have all the information, but with the information that I have, I am going to follow my like a progression of following up with these people. I call them, If they don't answer, I automatically follow up with a text message. And if they answer, I follow up with a text message saying, thank you for taking my phone call. Right. But if they don't answer, I'm going to say, hey, listen, I just tried to call you, couldn't get through. I'd love to connect with you. And then I'm going to follow up with an email. Right. Because there's very few people that don't want to communicate at all. Right. We just have to find the path that they're comfortable with. We have to meet them on their playing field. If it's in our system, right? If it's in our system, and actually, I talked with somebody earlier today that told me that she just likes to let the drip campaigns go until they answer. I mean, how much are we missing? Right. And I don't even know, she's not on the team. So she was asking for my advice. I don't even know what her drip campaigns are. But if you don't take enough time to pick up a phone and try and call, I can't imagine that you took a lot of time to really devote to your drip campaigns. Does that make sense? So now you can kind of guide this. We were going to talk about the 4 pillars, and having those 4 pillars. Everybody, has everybody seen that concept of having the 4 pillars of lead gen? Right. We want to have those 4, pillars, different, routes that we're getting leads. Obviously, for everyone, your sphere of influence should be one of them. Right. For a lot of us, there's some sort of online lead gen, whether it's a Zillow, realtor.com, whatever, something that is feeding leads into your system. Right. And some of us don't pay for that, and that's fine too. But there needs to be other sources, right? Whether it's a networking group that you're part of, or a nonprofit that you participate in, that you have access. You need to identify ways to get these people in, right? And then from there, you may just realize that these particular people like to communicate this way, and that's great. But this is a communication business. Can we all agree on that? So my recommendation would be is adopt a policy for yourself. Right. Everybody that knows me knows that I'm very regimented with how I conduct business. And the beautiful thing about it is I've been doing this for a long time, and I've done over 1,000 transactions at this point. And in 1,000 transactions, unfortunately, some people get upset. And when people say, well, you didn't do something like this, I can't remember every transaction. Right. But what I know is that I follow a procedure. So when they say you didn't do this, I'm confident in the fact, knowing that yes, I did, or no, I didn't, depending on what they're asking me. Right. And it's the same way with your follow-up. If I know I call, then I text, then I email, and I do that the same way for everyone. Okay. It's going to be very simple. I'm not going to miss anybody. Does that make sense? Absolutely. Yeah. Do I ask how they prefer to be contacted? 100%. Right. But I'm still, I'm going to have those conversations, because it's all about building rapport. Right. Asking more about somebody is going to, present all sorts of opportunities. Right. We have a few rental listings right now. Right. And I wrote a very simple script, takes me about 3 minutes to work through, because most of us don't like working rentals. Right. But we have, we get the rental leads, and I love rental listings because they generate tons of buyer leads. Right. And my script is very simple. Right. It's getting to the point of why, what is it that we're looking for? So, once I've rented out that property, the good thing about third-party programs like Zillow and stuff, that ad just keeps on running and running, because they take a long time to update. And if you have a good one, it's going to keep generating leads. So I'll get people, hey, is this thing still available? Well, actually, unfortunately, it's not still available. However, and I don't want to be a rental agent, right? So I'm not going to say, let me set you up on a search. I say, we do get other rentals from time to time. Would you like me to add you to my distribution list? Right? It's relatively non-invasive, and it opens up the conversation. So great, let me get some information. What's your name? What's your phone number? What's your email, right? All this stuff. And then I'll ask them some qualifying questions. What's your budget, right? $2,500. What, and then what's your credit score, right? Yeah, absolutely. Increase your base, right? So when I ask them what their credit score is, they are going to respond to me typically with, whatever it is, 400, I don't know. But you'll be surprised how many people are going to come to you and they're going to say 680, 720, whatever it is. And I'm going to follow that up with, is there a reason why you haven't considered home ownership? Right? And at that point, it is amazing when you ask that, is there a reason why you haven't considered home ownership? When you ask it like that, in that progression, they are going to tell you everything that's going on. And like we had one earlier today. Oh my God, I can't ever buy. I'm 71 years old. I got no heirs. I don't want to leave anything to anybody. I just want to rent. Okay, good. Renter. I'll put you on my list. Next time I get a listing, I'll send it to you. However, you'll get a lot of people, well, I'm just not sure. I don't have the money for the down payment. I don't have this. I'm, whatever it is. That opens up the conversation where we can discuss, hey, listen, if I could show you a path to home ownership, would that be interesting to you? Because they've already told me they want to buy, but they have no down payment. They have, they think that. I talked with a guy not too long ago. He's like, oh man, my credit is horrible. He says, I got to fix it before I can get back to buying. So, I said, well, what's your credit? He says 720. Does anybody not want a buyer with a 720 credit score? Okay. In his mind, 720 was a bad score. Right? Does anybody else think it's bad? No. No, but this is why when people are talking about and coming after us and after our industry, I'm not worried about if people are going to need me, if I'm going to have a job, because I know people need me. Right? And I can guide them. Does that make sense? A good friend of mine, Daniel, he's up in Tennessee. He did away with scripts, right? He doesn't call them scripts anymore. He calls them talking tracks, right? Because scripts have a negative tone to them sometimes, and a lot of agents can't get around them. But have your talking track, right? Whatever you want to call it. But you have to have your progression of how you're doing business. This is, if we answer every phone call and make every contact as if it's the first one we've ever had, it's going to be a very painful business. But when you start to break this down into a systematic approach, when you've hit that mark. Does that make sense? It doesn't make sense?
I don't know. I think I missed something.
What I was saying is, if you are systematic in the way you approach something, it starts to show itself to when somebody is at that point ready to buy, right? Using the talking tracks or scripts, however you want to call them, right? Having that systematic approach, right? When I was in the military, I was an interrogator for a period of time, right? And we had a system that we would ask questions and you looked for certain signs. Now, granted, that was a little bit different, but it's the same concept, right? When I'm talking with you guys, or whatever it is, I'm looking for signs to when you bought in to what I'm actually selling, right? The shoulders get relaxed, right? The person leans into you a little bit. Their voice calms down a little bit. The tone changes into a softer, more, more easygoing voice, right? These are signs. These are indicators that the person has dropped their guard and now they're ready to communicate with you, right? How many times have you called somebody that is, a new lead? You have no rapport with them. You've never talked with them, and they answer the phone and they're short, right? They're short on their answers. What do you want? Get to the point. And then after you start to explain what's going on, it starts to calm down and it starts to smooth out. And all of a sudden you can feel that rhythm of that conversation moving faster and smoother. Does that make sense? But we have to make sure for us to drag them into our, playing field, where we want to be, may not be comfortable for them. So as the professional, we have to follow their path of least resistance. Does that make sense? So where are you guys
I can
struggling?
get to that point. My problem lately is everybody that wants to, that really does what they want to sell. But I can't get them comfortable with selling. You know, I mean, I'm actually working with a mortgage broker to, you know, get even more familiar with the buy downs and that kind of thing. But it's like people are holding back. I met some people at the pool at my complex last weekend, and the one girl's like, "Yeah, you know, I'm finally ready to, you know, to buy something, and you know, I'm just not comfortable." And I mean, I talked to her for an hour, and now she's not picking up my calls. I called her twice in the last week, you know, and just, you know, hey, you know, had a good conversation. They, you know, if you have any more questions, please give me a call. I hope that I made you feel a little more comfortable, you know, with, you know, going ahead and buying something now, you know, because you'll be building your equity to buy something in a couple of years even better.
Is she currently renting, or is she
Yes.
a
Yeah,
homeowner?
she's living in the same complex I am. That's how we met, was at the pool.
But as a renter.
Yes.
Okay. So, you know, so tell me, what is the advantages of her buying over renting?
Well, number one, she's putting, you know, equity into something she owns, not paying somebody else's mortgage.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then of course she brings up, oh, but the interest rates are so high right now. And I said, they're high right now, but you're also, you know, let's say you give it a year and the interest rates start dropping, you refinance, but over that year, your property is already increased in value.
Okay.
And
So
if
sitting around and waiting, you're just going to
you're
pay
paying
more and
100%
have wasted your
interest.
money on rent.
Yeah, you're paying 100% in interest. You're on 100%, David. But Charlotte, let me ask you a question. In that community, are you also renting?
Yes.
So, and everybody there rents, or is it a
Yes.
mixture?
Yes.
Okay, so we have to look at what the background, when I shoot, right, I have to be aware of, not only the target, but what is behind the target, right? So we have to look at what we're actually dealing with. So you're talking with somebody how buying is so much better, but the underlying fact is she knows you're also a renter. So you're not 100%
Well, we
bought in.
had that discussion. I explained to her why I'm renting at this point in time.
Okay.
She's well aware.
Okay, so you did bring that up.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
whenever I talk to anybody in my complex, that's one of the first things I bring up.
Yeah.
You know,
So
because
whatever
I
that reason.
assumed immediately that would be an issue, you know.
Yeah.
Have you
So
had the 100% interest rate conversation by renting with this lady?
Say it again?
When you're renting, you're paying 100% interest.
Right.
So if
Right.
the interest is 7 or 8, that's still better than 100. Have you had this conversation with her?
I had that conversation. You know, I've had the conversation about building her own wealth instead of somebody else's. How house, you know, prices are going to just keep going up. They're really, you know, they might drop for a little bit, a couple of months or something. If you don't find what you want, they could go back up again. You know,
and
you don't
other
know
than
what's
you,
going to happen in the market. It could change. It could change on a dime tomorrow. So why not go ahead and buy and start investing your money in something today? And if the interest rates drop, yeah, you go in and you refinance.
yeah, but now you talked to her about that. Did you ask her, besides the interest rate, what other concerns did she have?
Yeah, that's the biggest thing.
Yeah,
And I
the
told, and
biggest
I
thing.
tried to get, I gave her a mortgage broker's number because she hadn't even talked to a mortgage broker yet. And I said, you should go and talk to him so that you can see what the difference is, how much more you're paying. I said, you know, I could probably get into it, but I'm not a licensed broker. I'm a licensed real estate agent. You know, he can really get in deep with you because she seems to be a real numbers person, this particular person.
100%, but let's not, for somebody that is on the fence, to go from zero to in deep is, can be a difficult transaction, or a transition rather. So if we start small, the way I do it is, I mean, you know what the rental amounts are in your community,
Yeah.
right? So if I take, let's just say $2,500 for, or let's do $2,000 for simple math, right? So if I figure out, right, that if you're paying $2,000 a month over the next 24 months, right, I know that you spent $24,000 in rent, of which 100% has gone to paying somebody else's mortgage,
Right.
right? I don't have to get into the specifics. I just paint the picture, right? Paint the picture. $24,000 is going into somebody else's pocket. Now, let's just change gears for a second. Right now, I don't know about your community, your areas, but my area is going up around 5% per year, right? You know, right now. A couple of years ago, it was going up much higher, but even at the 5%, okay, if I buy a house at $2,000 or $200,000, right, and it goes up 5%, right? How much, is that? Right? That's 10 grand, right?
Right.
So now, not only did I not throw away that $24,000, because part of it's going towards my equity, part of it's going towards my is tax deductible, but but also too, my house just went up by 5% on its own, increased value, that I didn't have to pay, put one single cent into my savings account to acquire that money. Now, doesn't it make sense? You know what? Maybe it doesn't go up this year. Maybe we're stale. But over the last 40 years, how many times have we had that we've had an actual decrease in property values?
And how much are you really going to save if it decreases? You know, at that
Well,
point, if
well,
you're waiting, because that whole time you've been waiting, you're losing.
yeah, 100%. I mean, so we have to paint the picture. Now, for those people that were here, I'm in Florida. For those people that were here in Florida, that were here during the crash, right? Property prices dropped immensely. So what happens when your property values go down? Your assessed value goes down. Now in Florida, if you have homestead, it can't go up more than 3%. So my parents bought in 2005, right before the crash, and they're paying almost nothing in property taxes right now because it was so low and it's just creeping up, right? So you have to know your homestead laws in your respective states. You guys might be a little bit different, but a lot of states have similar rules. So once you start to paint that and you overcome those objections, what if it crashes? What if it doesn't? Right? What if it doesn't? If the house goes up, 5 or 10, 15% over how many, months or years or whatever it is, right? And it goes up, that's that much more money you have to bring to the table to get to the same house. Right. So I usually use a combination of these things when I'm talking with somebody until I find the component that resonates with my client the best. And sometimes I just have to throw the information out there and then back off. Right? Because some people are just extremely overwhelmed. Right? We put them into the pipeline, put them into a nurture, campaign. But there's a lot of people that are out there scared. Right? So we have to educate them.
And it's on both sides. The sellers are afraid to sell. The buyers are afraid to buy. I feel like I'm fielding so many questions, which, I mean, obviously I don't have a problem with that. It just helps me become more get more information from them about who they are as a person and stuff, because I tend to like to actually, every client I've ever had, I consider all of them acquaintances, and numerous ones are my friends. And by going that route, I end up getting their relatives, the cousins, the parents, the kids. So I don't mind doing it. I just feel like I'm missing something, or I'm just hitting on the wrong people. But
I would say,
and yet with this one, the reason why this one bothered me so much she's ready to buy, and I know she's ready to buy. I just don't know what to tell her to get her over the edge.
Well, I think that's the problem. I think your problem is you're looking for something to tell her when you should be looking for the questions to ask her,
Okay.
right? What are your choke points, right? Nobody wants to be talked to or talked at, right? They want to know that you're listening. So I would ask the question of, what is it that's your biggest, concern? The interest rates, yeah, I understand that. But aside, what does that interest rate really cost you? Because we already determined, right? David just said, you're paying 100% right now, so you don't mind paying 100% interest. So it's not the 8%. Why is 8% scarier than 100%? There's something else there.
Right.
Yeah, you either need to
I mean,
get to the
I
bottom of
discussed
that,
money,
or
everything.
I recommend you leave her alone for a bit.
Yeah. Yeah, I think she's being
I mean, because
overwhelmed.
here's the thing. Oh God, here comes Charlotte. She's going to want to try to sign me up. So just when you're around this person the next time or two times or whatever, don't even bring up real estate.
I,
Well,
I
like,
agree
I haven't
100%.
even seen her since we met, and started talking. She was the one who actually, she said, "So what do you do?" And I said, "Oh, I'm in real estate. You thinking about buying?" And I laugh, because I don't want to be aggressive, so I always laugh, when I say that, and which, because people are like, "Oh, she's going to try to buy me something." So when I laugh, it calms them right down.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so she said, "Oh, I was thinking about buying. I'm ready. I'm pretty sure I'm ready." And I'm saying, "Oh, well, do you have a good mortgage broker? Do you know what you're going to be able to pay?" And she goes, "No, I haven't gotten to that point. I'm a little afraid." Yeah, that's how we got into that conversation. I've
I've
seen
put her
her
on
in
ice
the
for a little bit,
complex. I've
and
driven by her. I've waved. I've actually been out walking my dog and passed by her. I didn't stop her, but I did make the two phone calls. Yeah. Do you have any other questions that you might want to ask? Is there anything I can do to help you? Just let me know. I'm not going to like haunt you because we live in the same area, so I'm going to need you to kind of come to me. And I hope you have a great, I think that was
Now
a great,
when you just reiterated that, your first question was, do you have a good mortgage broker? Is that what you
Mhm.
lead with?
Not always.
Okay. Systematic, right? I don't ever lead with that, right? I
Oh,
want to know what
you
kind
need
of
a good
home.
realtor. You need a good realtor, not a lender
Yeah,
at this.
yeah. I want to know, what does that house look like, right?
oh,
You said you're ready
she
to buy.
actually, well, see, that was just it. She talked for 10 minutes. I got all that information. I didn't have to ask her any of that. She
Okay.
just spewed it, you know, and then when it was like, "Well, what's holding you up?" you know, and then she went off with, just being worried about the interest rates and, what's going to happen with,
Yeah.
closing costs and all that kind of stuff, and I mentioned, "Oh, okay, well, there's a lot of programs out there." And she's like, "Yeah, a friend of mine told me." And I said, "Well, if you want that information, here's my card. Shoot me, a quick email, and then we'll have a chain going, and I'll send you the stuff." And I explained, unlike so many other real estate agents, I'm not going to bombard you with stuff. We'll discuss it, and then I'll send it. I may send you a market update of what's happening in the market, and that's it. Because I'm finding so many people are just, they're actually deleting agents all over the place because the people are just texting and calling and emailing every single day, and it's just,
Yeah,
it's too
I mean,
much
it
for
is what it is,
people.
but I guarantee you though, listening will get you so much further.
Right.
And so definitely, I would incorporate that. Leslie, what about you? What are you struggling with your buyers? How do you talk with a hesitant seller who is scared they won't find? Hold on, that just went away. So how do you that is scared they won't find another home. Homes in my area sells in a week and listings with multiple offers. Okay, cool. So the way that I like to handle that, right, is if they're selling in a week and you're still in that hot of a market, right, there's a good chance they're not going to take a contingent offer. Right? Can we agree on that? So the way I like to do it is when I have that, and I know that the only way that they can do this is to transition, is to sell that one house. One, we can look at a bridge loan so we can remove the contingencies completely. Not everybody has the equity or the finances to do that, but that is one way. The other way that I will do it is I will convince them to do a listing. And when we accept offers, we will put in the addendum. Seller has 60, 90 days, whatever it is. Usually I don't go over 60, but 60 days to find a home of choice. So this way, at least it gives them a reason that we get them on the market, right? It's one extra step. And they know they have the protection that in the event that they can't find the home, their current home is protected because we built that into the contract. So it takes that pressure off. Does that make sense? Now, Leslie, you're muted if you're trying to talk.
Yep, that makes sense. That makes sense. And a lot of people want to buy in this area, but the houses just don't stay on the market long at all.
Yeah.
So it's kind of,
but so then that's even more imperative that I get it on the market and I get it listed and put that contingency in place. If the market is that hot, then you'll probably have somebody willing to take that contingency because they want the house.
all right.
And then it gives your now buyer the ability to go find the house that they're looking for. And it gives them some urgency, right? Because now we got a contract. All I need is that other house to finish this thing up. So now you have a motivated buyer. Can we agree on that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right now you got 60 days. Right. One of my favorite things is when I get a buyer or seller, I don't really care which one. And when I'm talking with them, I'm like, and I'll get to, are you enjoying the process on that? Absolutely not. I hate this process. I have somebody, by them telling me that they hate the process, they would not be here unless they had to. There is a need. If I haven't uncovered it yet, I'm going to find out why. Because that need is going to drive us into what's going forward.
You've got to find their motivation and then scale it on 1 to 10. And if you're dealing with a 6 or less, and you don't have enough motivation.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Does that help, Leslie?
Yep. Yeah, it do. It do. Yeah.
Yeah, I like to paint the picture.
Right. Right. Yeah.
The problem that we have in this industry, and I always say, realtors are our own worst enemy. We get the sale and then we disappear until settlement. Right? We don't call with updates. And the problem, I was in new construction for a long time. And with that process, you could be talking, depending on where we were building, between 6 months and a year until they're into their house. It is very easy for somebody to fall out of the loop and feel like, stuff is happening. There's an agent not on the team, and I don't understand how he pulled this off, but he got fired by his client the day before settlement. He still rates a commission, but the buyer told him that not only is he fired, the buyers decided that they never wanted to hear from anybody that even has a relationship with it. Yeah. I mean, how bad you have to mess it up, right? And we don't want to do that.
Okay.
Right.
Ouch.
So, yeah, I mean, it was a bad situation. Luckily, it wasn't me or on my team, right? But this is somebody I know, whatever. But my point is we have to stay in touch. We have to provide the information, the value. Why is this stuff going, and how can I be of service to you? Right? Why are we doing this call right now? Right? Right. We're all listening to each other, right? this call right here, maybe it'll turn into a referral someday, but that's not why I'm doing this, right? I'm doing this because together we all bounce ideas and we get better,
Idea.
right? So, in the short term, would my business suffer if I wasn't on this phone call? Well, not in the short term, right? But if I don't do any of these phone calls, and if I don't talk to any of you guys, I don't hear about objections. I don't know about markets in wherever your different areas, right? So this helps us stay more rounded for dealing with our clients, right? Same thing. We have to bring that back to our clients. They want to know that we have our finger on the pulse of what's going on in our areas.
Okay.
So have the conversation. On my calendar every Friday, I call my active clients. Hey, listen, no new updates. Everything is smooth though, right? And you have to do it. If they feel that they're not being communicated with, it's going to get very rocky. We only have a couple minutes left there, but David, do you have any struggles?
Not really. I mean, I've just gone into I'm with Fusion, and I've just gone into Rainmaker, so I've really gotten just to a new level, and I'm just getting comfortable with that. So,
Okay.
but
All right, cool. Well,
I appreciate these calls, and I always love round robining with other agents. I'm in Tennessee, so it's nice to
yeah,
see what's
I know
going on.
Daniel.
I'm sorry. He's a pretty good dude, isn't he?
He is. I like the guy.
Well,
But
come see us.
what's that?
Come see us in Nashville. We'll have a drink.
It is on my plans. I just got to figure out when to get up there. I missed the last trip up, so hopefully I'll get up there soon. So, but my challenge to everybody here is, and I know we were kind of short on time today, and I apologize about the technical difficulties, but those technical difficulties happen no matter what background we're working in. Right?
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, I should have had this thing up and running way beyond, way before you guys came on. I thought I had it going, and for whatever reason, I messed it up. I don't know. It is what it is, right? But I can make all sorts of excuses. I could say it's Zoom's fault. I could say it's, Tanya's fault. I could say it's whoever's fault. At the end of the day, it's my fault for not having this up and running, right? And it's the same thing when you're dealing with your clients, right? You have to assume the ownership, and things are going to go wrong. And that's fine. When things go wrong, I believe it gives us a platform to increase our connection with that person, because they're going to see how you react to it. Right? I could have been all pissed off, Leslie. You were the first one on here, right? I could have been all pissed off about the systems and the tools and whatever. It doesn't do us any good, right? We have one, yesterday, a client of mine, and everything is going. The contract it could not be going better. However, unfortunately, she has some issues from her time in service, and she is very nervous. She called me up all upset. She's like, Chris, I need this to close on the 25th. I'll give him a credit just to make sure it happens. It's like, why would we do that? It's closing on the 25th anyway. All the conditions are met. Why would you run? I'm like, pump your brakes. I'm not going to let you spend your $4,000. Right? I got off the phone. She was happy when I got off the phone. I got a call or a text message 20 minutes later. Thank you so much for just listening to me vet. Great. Right? She's happy.
Hold my hand.
What's that?
Just hold my hand. That's what they want.
Yeah, that's our job. So anyway, my challenge to you would be get out, listen to your clients. They will tell you everything they need, whether it's verbal or nonverbal. They will tell you. You just have to be willing to listen.